So have you considered or thought about homeschooling, especially during the recent events of COVID? A lot of students have been home doing virtual courses and virtual classes. And so a lot of parents have been considering actually homeschooling their children. I was able to have today a impromptu conversation with a fellow pastor, fellow entrepreneur, and dad regarding homeschooling. Now, he has been homeschooling his children for 15 years, and he talks a little bit about his successes with that, and how he's enjoyed it, and he felt like it was the best decision he ever made. So if that's something you may be interested in, stay tuned to this discussion and let me know how you feel about this. Be sure to like, share, and comment in this video, and let me know what your feelings are about homeschooling as well. All right, hope you enjoyed this.
And it was one of the best decisions, you know, one of the best decisions I felt like we ever made. I
Mm.
mean, it's really take
So,
time
so
to
how long?
invest.
So how long did you have your kids homeschooled? How long did you have them homeschooled?
We started. I want to say my oldest was in the third grade, and about the third grade. So that means twins would have been about the second grade. And so, like I said, he's the oldest. He's graduated now, and the younger two twins, my daughter, she's on her head doing her stuff for like her scholarships and all of that. She's working on trying to go to Howard to do. She wants to be a nurse midwife and then do some other nursing like NICU, ICU. She
Mm.
says,
Okay.
and kind of wants to have her own practice with a birthing center as a
Oh
midwife.
wow.
Yeah, that's what she wants
All three of my kids were in the NICU. I
to
have an 18-year-old, I have a 5 and a 4, and all of them were in NICU. And I'm gonna tell you, especially with my first two, it really helped having that schedule, having those nurses there and doctors there that were patient enough to kind of give them a process and give them a schedule. It really helped when they came home to maintain that schedule. So it really helped out to have if you have the right people inside of there doing it with the right heart, it really helps out, makes a difference.
yeah. And so now that's what we're doing, man. Is and then when we found out, I found out the very first time we went to this big homeschool convention. As a matter of fact, it was in Houston in the Woodlands area. I don't know if you're familiar with the Texas Homeschool Coalition, but we got involved with them. We went to this big thing that they had, this convention they had. I think it was over 5,000 families
Mm,
at this. And I'm looking around, man, and I'm like, there's not a whole lot of us,
mm,
that doing this. But this is what I started finding out. I started finding out, certain programs and different things that they had going on that, you would not have a clue that these things were happening. And so we got involved in some of them, man. And one of the best experiences we had was we took the children to something called Capital Days. And what happens is all of this group, you register and get it set up. And what the children do is they spend an entire day at the state capitol. Okay. They go in and they have the auditorium, they sit in the auditorium, and this is what they do. They literally go through piece by piece. And what we did was it was a 6-week course that we did with them. And in this six-week course, we talked to them about, taught them the process of how things become, like how bill becomes a law, how the legislature works, how the system of checks and balances work, the different branches of government, how all of that comes together with lobbying and all that stuff like that is, putting that information in there. Then when they go to the state capitol, they have like a briefing with them, and then they go through all of these different things to give them almost kind of like a real life experience in like this whole process. And so when
mm.
we went to Austin, they were actually they had actually given a briefing on an actual piece of legislation that had to do with CPS. And the children had the opportunity to literally be able to go into the representatives and the senators' offices and actually go through talking points on lobbying on the position of this particular piece of legislation.
Wow.
They got the opportunity to kind of play, senator and representative, for a day. We actually got to sit in on the session that they were having, um, on certain bills and stuff like that they were voting on, and we actually got the opportunity to be a part of the whole process. And I'm
Wow.
thinking these children would have never got this experience
Yeah.
with school
Yeah.
setting.
Now,
And
now, now let me ask you this: when it comes to, cause it sounds like you have homeschooled them for at least 15 years. Uh,
absolutely.
so how do they get the interaction with other kids their age? They're homeschooled. You have to be very purposeful on how you actually still give them, kind of get that involved, so they get that camaraderie with other young folks their age, and even as they grow. How do you handle that?
Well, that was the purpose of connecting with the bigger, larger group, the coalition.
Okay.
Uh,
Okay.
because what we found out is that since I want to say about when I think that from my understanding, the growth in Texas homeschooling really started back in the late 80s. So now Texas is one of the states that has one of the largest numbers of homeschool students. And in some ways that number is growing, it's increasing.
Hmm.
So as a result, you have different conventions, you have different coalitions, you have different groups that have like parental involvement. You have the opportunity to be a part of like cooperatives. That you have different parents that like have different expertise in different areas, and of course their children are involved in homeschooling. Later on, after we got them the good educational foundation, we focused on that first. Then as they started getting into the latter years of school, then we started locating the opportunities for them to be a part of different outings with other homeschool students and even public school students. Um, we started allowing them to participate in extracurricular activities. My boys have played baseball, basketball, and then one now is also playing football. My youngest son is playing football. My daughter played volleyball. Uh, my other son ran track. So
Now,
they've had those opportunities.
what is the name of the group again that you mentioned that you when it met with the 5,000 families? What's the name of the group again?
It was a Texas Homeschool Coalition.
Texas Homeschool Coalition. Okay. Okay.
They're actually based in Houston.
Okay.
Uh, I mean, just really, good operation. But and what it did was it was an eye opener. Like when we became a part of the associations, and even some of the local groups or whatever homeschooling groups, we became part of the association. It was an eye opening thing to actually be able to see all of the many resources that are available. I'm talking about when we went to this convention, there were hundreds upon hundreds of vendors or whatever that had, different material that they had available. One lady, her big thing was really giving them the strategies on how to actually ace the SAT test, SAT. And just her name is Jean Birkin. She just went through all these different things to actually break down the test, to actually tell them how they actually should look at the problem solving and how they should, make their approach. Because really that test is more all about the way you think.
Hmm.
Really, that's what it's really a measurement of. And so just to really kind of break it down, she was kind of sharing those things, but we had access to all of these resources and all of these um, things that we just would not have normally had, when it came to just, the regular um, public schooling option. And then, of course, as you talked about, it gave us a flexibility, with our scheduling because, you know, at the end of the day, it's kind of like, especially in Texas, states like Texas, you kind of make the rules. So you can be as creative as you need to be when it comes to educating your children. I'll tell you from our perspective, uh, we wanted to teach our children the reality of history. And we wanted to teach them history I want to say, things about history that they would not have normally learned, in, let's say the regular public school. We wanted to expand Black history beyond February,
Mm.
uh, and teach them about more than just the 4 or 5 people they probably will learn about over the course of, Black history, and teach them. Now we teach them the history, the reality of what history was and is, and then from our perspective, we wanted to teach them how to uh, reconcile the scriptural uh, worldview
Yeah, I like that.
on,
I like
yeah, based on what history is. Now, this is what history is. This history was, or this is what the things that happened in history. Now let's go back to the scriptures and take a look at
right. So
how
now they're looking at everything from a biblical worldview, and not
exactly.
just what's coming from the teacher. When we talk about science, we talk about politics, we talk about biology, we talk about mathematics and all that. I'm giving you a biblical worldview on what's going on. So when we
Mhm,
do vote on things, you see things happening in the world, you understand it from these points, and not just looking at it as a linear view. You're looking at it from an aerial view, and
mhm,
making sure that people understand, the children understand that God is still in control, because all of these things have been represented in the
mhm.
study of Scripture. So
Right,
yeah,
right. And
yeah,
then we looked at the reality of, and we're able to tie in, because history was always my favorite subject in school. I'm talking about, if I were to be a teacher, that's what I would teach.
okay,
Uh, and we look at the scriptures, and we also look at the book, and of course the spiritual understanding, because the text says all things are written aforetime for our learning, and we through patience and comfort
right,
of scripture might have. But then the other thing we look at is, we have to realize that this is actually a historical document. I mean, we want to look, of course, at the birth, the death, the life, the resurrection, of Christ, of course, from the spiritual sense and from the aspect concerning our salvation. But let's not skip over the reality that this is an actual historical, proven actual historical event, you
hmm,
know, actually took place. That, he's not a mystical figure. Like, this is not Greek mythology, that we're talking about here. This is an actual person that actually was born, that actually lived, that actually died, that actually did, raise from the dead. That is both a spiritual event and an actual historical event.
right,
You
right,
know?
wow,
And so we want to actually be able to look at that and be able to see, you know, even when you look at the sciences, one of the things that my children thought was so interesting is, I said, okay, guys, in secular arenas, because a lot of in public schools, a lot of secular humanism.
right,
There are aspects of public education that's not really about education; it's more about indoctrination. So, one of the things from that secularized secular humanism worldview is, it's almost like you kind of want to uh, make this separation, you know, between what we're taught, the principles or whatever that we're taught in the scripture, and they're almost this elevation of science,
hmm,
scientific knowledge, scientific
hmm,
understanding.
hmm,
But then when I'm able to take different aspects of what is discussed in the scientific community, and then make a correlation to you from the scripture to show you
hmm,
that there really is, I said, first of all, let's understand science is really just, is kind of a study. It's knowledge, right? I said, so you're dealing with a God who is, we call him omniscient. Okay, that's omniscience. That's all knowing, right? Science is knowledge. So you're talking about these individuals who are studying about, to learn about something they did not create, versus somebody who knows the ins and outs of everything that he created. Okay,
right,
so we start talking about the sun, the moon, the stars. Okay, well, let's talk about the sun, the moon, the stars. Let's talk about the planets. Let's talk about that. Job talks about that. That he laid them out, and the psalmist talks about he knows them by name. Let's
hmm,
talk about all the heavens declaring his glory. Let's talk about what all these things look like.
hmm,
Let's talk about the reality that a lot of stuff that they're trying to teach you from the textbook is not anything new. you know, let's see that, because I want you, I want
you
them
could
to.
have found this. You could have found it by studying the Bible. You could have found it
Yeah.
by researching the scriptures and seeing that it's inside of the word already. And then, but then here comes this philosopher or this scientist saying that we've discovered this. No, what you've done is you've looked at it and well, maybe you have discovered it for yourself, but it was already here.
Yes, it was.
It was already here. Even and I talk about this. We talk about making money, investing. We talk about Warren Buffett and his thoughts and process on compound interest. Well, he says, of course, that compound interest is one of the greatest things in the world. But compound interest is already a principle that was biblical already. What you did, you just applied the principle that was already in the earth. And a lot of
Hmm.
times, and I try to tell people this who want to be millionaires, want to be billionaires. I say, if you listen to what they're saying, if you listen to what they're telling you, when they talk about their routines and the way they move, the way they done things, a lot of those principles you'll find in the scriptures. They've
Right.
applied them in different pieces of the world, even though they may not be a believer.
Hmm.
They've applied the principles because the principles work, because the principles are embedded inside of the earth. God did that. So even if you're not a believer, the principles work.
Yeah.
So yeah. Oh yeah, man. It's all there, man. It's all there. It's all there. Yeah,
It was one of the best decisions we ever made. Just looking back on it, it had its own set of challenges,
of course.
uh, but it was one of the best decisions we ever made. And our children are um, really well-rounded. They're some of the most social children, you'd ever want to meet, because they've gotten it, instead of being a because one of the things they talked about in one of the studies that we did was, it talks about the difference between being as far as your social uh, surroundings, being in a peer led or a peer influenced environment versus being in a an environment that is inclusive of all different types of interactions with different age groups and stuff like that, and different people. um, to have the opportunity, over the course of your day of education, you and I are probably going to have, let's go take a real world study, and we're going to talk about patterns of different things of people. Let's in aging. Okay, let's go visit a nursing home. You know,
Mhm.
let's go see and talk. And interact. With different people, and let's take notes about what we are gaining or what we're hearing from them. Then let's go to maybe like a younger group of people, and then let's take notes about them. Let's like compare notes, you know, to see what are the discoveries that we have about aging. What are the discoveries that we have about maturity? What are the things that we find about develop? I did a really creative thing with my children, man, because I wanted to give them sort of a rites of passage as they were entering into their teen years, to help them focus. And right around about 14 and 15, we get ready to prepare for their birthday, because that's the other thing. All my children have the same birthday. Twins were born on my son's first birthday.
Wow.
So, so
That's
they all got the same birthday. Yeah.
that's
And
very
so what we did was we prepared to have them. I was getting ready to have them a birthday party. And I planned this like a year out. It's about 6 months before their birthday came up. We were going to throw them a banquet. And I told him, I said, I need you guys to do something for me. This is going to be for a grade, for your writing grade. I need you guys to think about, in your mind and your heart right now, who you are. You're in your teenage years now. It's time for you to be thinking about these things. Finding yourself in a sense. So I said, I need you to tell me, in your writing, in your thinking, what do you believe you were born to do? Why do you believe you are here? And so I
awesome.
told him, I said, what we're going to do is we're going to do something called a life purpose statement.
Mm, mm,
And
mm.
what you're going to do is I want you to think about it. I want you to pray about it. I want you to think about, the skill set you've been given. Think about the passions and desires you have in your heart. And then I want you to write that, put that in writing. And I want to take a look at it. So we did that. And I made them do it. Like they would come and they would finish it. And I would look at it and I read it and say, okay, go pray about it, think about it, write it again. I did this over the course of the 6 months. Now, our purpose for doing this was because the way we set the banquet up was they were going to have a moment where all the three of them were going to march them in, bring them up on the stage. We did, set them up there. And then the community of people, the village of people that we have around us that help us in the responsibility, that godparents, people that we're close with, brought them to that place. And then what we did was I said, now each one of you guys are going to get up and you're going to read to us and talk to us about your life purpose statement. And the reason why I want you to do this in the company of this community, so because after you make this statement that this is what you were born to do, now everybody that's a part of this community, that's a part of this village, now will hold you accountable.
Hold you accountable
For what you say you were
Come
born
on
to do,
now.
for who you say you were, for what you
Yeah,
say you were put here for. All of
yeah,
us now,
yeah.
all of these people are going to support us in the job and the responsibility that
Love
we
it.
have
I love it.
of helping you grow into that.
I love it.
So,
Love that.
and it was one of the most beautiful things, man. And then my main gift to them that day, out of everything that they received, was a Bible and a prayer shawl that we put up on them. And then, of course, in the company of all the people, we offer the laid hands upon them to bless them. And then I said, now what you got to understand is this is your mom and I doing our job and responsibility of giving you the permission to grow up, to grow up and be the man and be the woman that you've been assigned to be. Because my job is to make sure when you leave my house, you don't leave my house trying to find out who you are. You leave my
Right.
house knowing who you
Right. Come on now.
are.
I
My job.
love it. I love it. I love
Yeah.
that. Man, okay, so do you have your website up already?
No, I'm putting that website together. That website's gonna go up here in the next couple of weeks
Okay.
for
What is it
sure.
going to be? What's the domain?
It's gonna be Obamacare.
A, okay. ABBAcare.com.
ABBA-care.com.
Okay. Yeah. And I already have your YouTube channel. Man, this discussion here was great, man. And it's kind of impromptu, but I appreciate it, man.
Yes, sir.
All this information was great, man. It's helping me, it's blessing me. And really, I'm gonna show my wife this video because I recorded it, so that kind of give us information on how we're gonna do it in our process of homeschooling. Because, like I say, we really need that encouragement, and I really believe it'll work out better for us to do it that way. Um, yeah, man. So I got your information, and we're definitely gonna keep in touch, man. Let's definitely keep in touch. And this, I'm gonna text you. I'm also gonna send you my information so you'll have it. Yeah,
Gotcha.
yeah, yeah,
All
yeah.
right.
All right, man. I appreciate it, man. I really do.
Yes, sir. Likewise, man. Thank you for connecting with me, man. I'm
Man.
looking forward to it.
Yeah, man. This is awesome. All right, so I hope that you enjoyed that, and we'll be having more discussions with Pastor Demetrius as we go along with this new connection I found with this good brother. So if you've liked that information, if you like the conversation that we had, and we're going to bring in more of things like this. So please like, share, comment, make sure you subscribe to this channel and click on the bell notification so that you will be notified every time we bring up a new video that helps and inspires you and encourages you. Until the next video, be empowered.